I'm Josh Robin. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. President Biden unveils a sweeping executive order targeting unlawful migration at the southern border. It effectively shuts down asylum requests of illegal entries when that number tops 2,500 for 7 days. The White House says the order will go into effect immediately. It also speeds up removals from the country and limits when non-citizens are allowed to stay. The ACLU plans to sue over the new order. Witness testimony has begun in Hunter Biden's federal gun trial. The president's son is accused of lying about his drug use when buying a revolver back in 2018. Hunter's attorneys suggested he did not have much interest in buying a gun, attempting to undermine prosecutors' claims about lying to gun dealers. Attorney General Merrick Garland faces a grilling by Republicans on Capitol Hill. The nation's top cop has been defending himself. His job is to uphold the rule of law and added the department will not be intimidated. And early season heat from a summer-like heat dome is sending temperatures skyrocketing. Triple digits expected in parts of California and the Southwest. Heat watches and advisories are in effect for millions of Americans. And for more on those sizzling temperatures and more weather, we have meteorologist Kyle Hansen. He has a look at how things are shaping up.
Oh, it's starting to heat up out there in the southwestern United States, certainly feeling like summer, but moving towards the northwest, especially the Seattle area. We still got some showers around today, kind of making it feel still a little more like springtime, if not even early spring. Otherwise, across the central United States for today, another round of strong to severe thunderstorms possible. Look at this. So across Texas, 90s to near 100, especially across San Antonio towards El Paso with triple-digit heat from
The American Civil Liberties Union plans to sue the Biden administration over the president's new executive order targeting immigration. I'm Josh Robin, and you're watching Spectrum News. The order bars migrants from being granted asylum when U.S. officials deem the southern border to be overwhelmed. The ACLU says an asylum ban, quote, is illegal. Biden has contemplated unilateral action for months, especially after Republican lawmakers rejected a bipartisan security deal at the request of presumptive Republican presidential nominee, former President Donald Trump. And Spectrum's Daniel Grimes joins me. First, Daniel, walk us through the basics of this executive action.
Yes, President Joe Biden's executive order will give him the authority to shut down the border when migrant crossings seek a certain number of illegal crossings that exceeds 2,500 a day. Restrictions will kick in immediately and continue until the number of illegal crossings declines, so migrants crossing illegally will be denied asylum. Now, the order includes exceptions for unaccompanied minors and victims of human trafficking. And I should note this is the most restrictive border policy by any Democratic president in recent times, and it actually mirrors restrictions Donald Trump implemented as president, which Biden criticized at the time. Now, you can expect to see some legal challenges to this, like Trump faced when he tried to implement an asylum ban. The court said it violated immigration law that states any person who steps foot on U.S. soil has the right to seek asylum, regardless of whether they entered the U.S. legally, Josh.
And Daniel, this plan was just announced. It's already facing political opposition. You mentioned the legal opposition. What are Republicans and even some in the president's own party saying?
Yeah, that's right. Progressives, including Representative Pramila Jayapal, chair of the Congress, should distinguish itself from Trump. Now, earlier this year, Republicans rejected a bipartisan immigration bill that would have implemented many of the measures that are in this executive order, saying Biden should take executive action. Well, now they are dismissing his executive order, saying too little, too late.
And my question to him is, why did you wait until now if you were serious about doing it? The simple answer is he's not serious about securing the border.
Now, the president is combating the criticism, saying Congress should act in shifting blame to Trump and Republicans who twice blocked that bipartisan immigration bill, Josh.
Okay, Daniel Grimes reporting from our nation's capital. Thank you. Opening statements have wrapped up in Hunter Biden's federal gun trial. National political reporter Taylor Popolars is outside the courthouse in Wilmington, Delaware. And Taylor, what did we hear this morning?
who's been inside the court taking handwritten notes, since that's all, no technology is allowed inside. She came out during a break and said for the prosecution, their opening statement lasted about 20 minutes, and they outlined their case, the 10 witnesses they plan to call, and their argument that they believe Hunter Biden knew he was an addict and intentionally lied when he filled out paperwork to buy a gun back in 2018. The defense then had a chance to speak. They delivered around 50 minutes of opening statements. They only mentioned one witness that they plan to call, President Joe Biden's brother James, so he will make an appearance at some point. And they argued that Hunter, at the time of the gun purchase, was addicted to alcohol but not addicted to cocaine. And basically the jury got to hear this initial argument before hearing from the witnesses, but both sides giving out the initial kind of points in their case.
Taylor, we've been used to seeing the scenes outside of former President Trump's trial in New York. It seems a lot more sedate where you are. What's the scene like?
Definitely a bit calm. Crews set up where I'm standing outside the courthouse. The Secret Service does have a presence here because the First Lady has been inside the courtroom both on Monday and today on Tuesday. She has a detail. Hunter Biden has his own Secret Service because he's part of the presidential family. But some protesters, a small handful, literally single digits, have been here at various times. Definitely a calm atmosphere. Several dozen journalists going inside the courtroom and coming out during breaks. But other than that, it's a sunny day here.
Okay, Taylor Popolars in Delaware. Thanks. Meantime, on Capitol Hill, another Biden administration official is defending himself against Republican attacks during a House committee hearing. Spectrum's national reporter Angie Gonzalez joins us now. Angie, on Monday, it was Dr. Anthony Fauci. Today, it's the Attorney General Merrick Garland. What did he say?
Yeah, so the Attorney General told the committee that he and other DOJ workers have endured repeated attacks. Just here a committee hearing, Garland outlined the work that the DOJ has been doing to fight crime and slammed some of the Republican allegations being made against him. Members of the GOP allege that Garland has weaponized the Department of Justice, claims the Attorney General says are unprecedented and unfounded.
I will not be intimidated, and the Justice Department will not be intimidated. We will continue to do our jobs free from political influence.
And Josh Garland also emphasized that the DOJ is completely independent from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Some Republicans, including former President Donald Trump, claim without evidence that the Biden administration used the Department of Justice to target Trump with the hush money trial that took place. Last week, a Manhattan jury, of course, convicted Trump in his hush money trial. Back to you.
And Angie, Garland is really at the center of a political thing, on the contrary, as we approach November. Can you give us a snapshot of what Republicans and Democrats had to say during the hearing?
Well, some of them, I guess you could say, had Trump on the mind. Take a listen.
When you say, well, we'll take your request and then we'll sort of work it through the DOJ's accommodation process, then you're actually advancing the very dangerous conspiracy theory that you're concerned about.
Throughout the 118th Congress, Republicans have made bogus allegations claiming that the Justice Department has been weaponized. Most recently, there was an allegation that the FBI was authorized to, quote, kill the former president.
So, Josh, as you can see there, another contentious hearing on Capitol Hill. Back to you.
Okay, Angie, thank you. Next on Spectrum News, dangerous heat affecting millions in the U.S. More on the heat dome and how high the mercury is heading.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, we know how much you depend on the reliability of our products and services. Now, we've taken a new step forward in reliability by identifying potential service issues before they become a problem. If you're affected, we'll contact you and help schedule a free service appointment with one of our expert technicians, the most reliable internet speeds in the nation. Spectrum, keeping you connected.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had a suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
Today we're looking at another round of thunderstorms developing in parts of the Midwest down to the south central U.S. as well. And in the yellow shading here, that's where we have a level 2 out of 5 risk for some strong to severe thunderstorms. So not everyone will see severe weather in this area, but again, a few of those storms in the area could be strong to severe. I think particularly the main concern will be strong wind gusts. You can see heading into this evening by 7 o'clock, widespread showers and storms across Minnesota into Iowa, also parts of Illinois and Missouri as well. And then overnight, we will start to see thunderstorms develop across the southern plains, particularly Oklahoma. You can see here, again, perhaps some of these strong to severe, and then moving into Arkansas and Louisiana as we head into early Wednesday morning, but then diminishing by sunrise. Some showers still left over into parts of Kentucky and Tennessee as this cold front moves towards the east, and also into parts of the upper Midwest into Michigan as well. And on the backside, a few showers across Wisconsin and Minnesota on Wednesday. Those will not be severe because you're in the cool sector of that low pressure system. But on the warm side of this, again, some thunderstorms, Michigan into Kentucky into Tennessee on Wednesday into Thursday morning. Notice by Thursday morning, we're looking at showers across parts of the Northeast. So that cold front will be starting to push east towards New York and New England, bringing some showers, some off and on again wet weather for Thursday. So it's not like it's going to be raining all day Thursday into New England and the Northeast, but we will have some wet weather around, so it's a good idea to have the umbrella handy. Otherwise, the bulk of the rainfall out of the system is going to be in parts of the Midwest and into the south central United States. So particularly eastern Oklahoma, that's where we have the best chance to see some flash flooding out of this overnight tonight. But still, that's a possibility heading up into other parts of the Midwest. Several inches of rain possible there in eastern Oklahoma. A little bit less as you go north, but still about a ½ inch to an inch of rain.
Sizzling early season heat from a summer-like heat dome is sending thermometers soaring. Our Jamila Mohammed has an in-depth look at the excessive heat warnings now in effect for millions of Americans.
Today, millions of people in the Southwest are under heat advisories due to a heat dome that is scorching parts of the country. Forecasters say it could get dangerously hot with temperatures in the triple digits. Some parts of the U.S. could even set new records.
We worry most about heat stroke, especially when there are heat waves.
The biggest impact will be felt in Texas, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and California. It's not just the dangerous heat facing these states, though. They're also at a higher risk for wildfires.
People are looking for a sign that it's time to get prepared for peak fire activity. This is the sign.
Parts of California are already dealing with a brutal start to the fire season. Firefighters are already warning residents to remove any dry brush that could spark up a wildfire. They also warn people to be careful with outdoor activities like cookouts and campfires.
Everything gets dry. Even if it looks green, it still could put out enough oils for it to ignite. Yeah. So be careful.
Jamila Mohammed, Spectrum News.
With soaring temperatures, analysts expect record-high electric bills this summer. They say electric bills could jump 8% from June to September. That averages out to around $719 for the summer months. By comparison, it was $527 during the summer of 2019. Residents living in the Mid-Atlantic and Pacific regions could see even steeper cost increases. It is day 5 of the water crisis in Atlanta. The Army Corps of Engineers is on the ground as thousands deal with a boil water advisory. A major water main broke last Friday. As crews were repairing the line, another broke on Saturday. Workers are still trying to repressurize that line, which is located in Midtown Atlanta. The mayor is blaming aging infrastructure. A potentially dangerous situation in North Texas. Heavy rainfall has shifted a dam, and that's raising fears about a possible collapse. Spectrum's Emily Pounds reports on the precautions now being taken.
Rockwall County officials are closely inspecting a dam that shifted 3 feet during recent storms. Despite visible erosion and damage, McClendon-Chisholm city officials assure residents there is no immediate threat to nearby homes. But some homeowners, like Andy Clark, still worry.
We're monitoring it. We had already noticed that people were looking at it and talking about it, so we wanted to make sure that we let them know that we're on top of it.
Mayor Brian McNeil emphasizes that while the situation is stable, residents should stay prepared for evacuations if necessary.
We just kind of wanted to put a stake in the ground just to kind of monitor it. And as time went on, we came back about a few years later, and what was once about a foot that you could just step right off of was now a 3-foot drop that you would have to jump. Residents
like Clark say they've had enough of the ongoing weather. After dealing with the high winds and power outages, he says he's taking the warning seriously.
My house is the highest in the neighborhood, I do believe, but well above the lake, but I sure feel for the fear that people might have below it.
The mayor points out the water level would need to rise significantly by 10 feet before the dam could fail. Meantime, officials continuing to monitor the dam, prepared to undertake any urgent repairs.
And if something does happen, we're prepared to issue an evacuation.
In Rockwall County, Emily Pounds, Spectrum News.
A health alert involving your heart. There's a new study from the American Heart Association. It says about 61% of Americans will have cardiovascular disease over the next 20 years. The study found 45 million adults will have cardiovascular disease or a stroke by 2050. Researchers say a big driver is the growing number of people likely to develop high blood pressure. Heart disease is to blame for more than 800,000 deaths every year. India's prime minister is expected to keep his seat for a rare third term. Results show that Narendra Modi has a solid lead, though not a landslide victory for his party. The Hindu Nationalist Party is likely to join forces with another party to form a coalition government. Modi has never had to reach across the aisle for getting work done. 640 million votes have been cast in what is seen as the world's largest democratic exercise. An anti-Semitic attack at a law firm with ties to the University of Michigan. Coming up, what we're learning about the investigation and the other crime involving a masked man.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Hey, Bobo.
Do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Some parts of the West Coast certainly heating up for this time of year. Vegas at 103. That's definitely a few degrees above the average for this time of year. LA at 75. Not too warm yet, but look at San Francisco, 81.
Good day, I'm Josh Robin. You're watching a special report here on Spectrum News. President Biden is announcing an executive order which would effectively shut down the U.S. Mexico border to asylum seekers who cross illegally when a daily threshold of crossings is exceeded. Let's listen in.
But then Republicans in Congress, not all, but walked away from it. Why? Because Donald Trump told them to. He told the Republicans, it has been published widely by many of you, that he didn't want to fix the issue. He wanted to use it to attack me. That's what he wanted to do. It was a cynical and an extremely cynical political move and a complete disservice to the American people who are looking for us to not to weaponize the border, but to fix it. Today, I'm joined by a bipartisan group of governors, members of Congress, mayors, law enforcement officials, most of whom live and work along the southern border. They know the border is not a political issue to be weaponized. The responsibility we have to share, to do something about it. They don't have time for the games played in Washington, and neither do the American people. So today, I'm moving past Republican obstruction and using the executive authorities available to me as president to do what I can on my own to address the border. Frankly, I would have preferred to address this issue through bipartisan legislation, because that's the only way to actually get the kind of system we have now that's broken, fixed, to hire more Border Patrol agents, more asylum officers, more judges. But Republicans have left me no choice. Today, I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern border unlawfully from receiving asylum. Migrants will be restricted from receiving asylum at our southern border unless they seek it after entering through an established lawful process. And those who seek to come to the United States legally, for example, by making an appointment and coming to a port of entry, asylum will still be available to them, still available. But if an individual chooses not to use our legal pathways, if they choose to come without permission and against the law, they'll be restricted from receiving asylum and staying in the United States. This action will help us to gain control of our border, restore order to the process. This ban will remain in place until the number of people trying to enter illegally is reduced to a level that our system can effectively manage. We'll carry out this order consistent with all our responsibilities under international law, every one of them. In addition to this action, we recently made important reforms in our asylum system, more efficient and more secure reforms. The goal is to deliver decisions on asylum as quickly as possible. The quicker decision means that a migrant is less likely to pay a criminal smuggler thousands of dollars to take him on a dangerous journey, knowing that if in fact they move in the wrong direction, they returned around quickly. And 2 weeks ago, the Department of Justice started a new docket in the immigration courts to address cases where people who've recently crossed the border and they make a decision within 6 months rather than 6 years, because that's what happens now. Additionally, the Department of Homeland Security has proposed new rules to allow federal law enforcement to more quickly remove asylum seekers that have criminal convictions and remove them from the United States. My administration has also recently launched new efforts to go after criminal networks that profit from smuggling migrants to our border and incentivize people to give tips to law enforcement, to provide information that brings smugglers to justice. We're also sending additional federal prosecutors to hotspots along the border and prosecute individuals who break our immigration laws. One other critical step that we will be taking, and that is made a huge difference. We continue to work closely with our Mexican neighbors instead of attacking Mexico. And it's worked. We've built a strong partnership of trust between the Mexican President Lopez Obrador, and I'm going to do the same with the Mexican-elect president who I spoke with yesterday. We've chosen to work together with Mexico as an equal partner, and the facts are clear. Due to the arrangements that I've reached with President Obrador, the number of migrants coming and to our shared border unlawfully in recent months has dropped dramatically. But while these steps are important, they're not enough. To truly secure the border, we have to change our laws, and Congress needs to provide the necessary funding to hire 1,500 more border security agents, 100 more immigration judges to help tackle the backlog of cases, more than 2 million of them, 4,300 more asylum officers to make decisions in less than 6 months instead of 6 years, which is what it takes now, and around 100 more high-tech detection machines to significantly increase the ability to screen and stop fentanyl being smuggled into the United States. These investments were one of the primary reasons that the Border Patrol Union endorsed the bipartisan deal in the first place. And these investments are essential, remain essential. As far as I'm concerned, if you're not willing to spend the money to hire more Border Patrol agents, more asylum officers, more judges, more high-tech machinery, you're just not serious about protecting our border. It's as simple as that. I believe that immigration has always been the lifeblood of America. We're constantly renewed by an infusion of people and new talent. The Statue of Liberty is not some relic of American history. It stands for who we are as the United States. So I will never demonize immigrants. I'll never refer to immigrants as poisoning the blood of a country. And further, I'll never separate children from their families at the border. I will not ban people from this country because of their religious beliefs. I will not use the U.S. military to go into neighborhoods all across the country to pull millions of people out of their homes and away from their families to put detention camps while awaiting deportation, as my predecessor says he will do if he occupies his office again. My very first day as president, I introduced a comprehensive immigration reform plan to fix our broken system, secure our border, provide a pathway for citizenship for dreamers, and a lot more. And I'm still fighting to get that done. But we must face the simple truth. To protect America as a land that welcomes immigrants, we must first secure the border and secure it now. The simple truth is there is a worldwide migrant crisis. And if the United States doesn't secure our border, there's no limit to the number of people may try to come here, because there's no better place on the planet than the United States of America. For those who say the steps I've taken are too strict, I say to you that be patient. And goodwill of American people are wearing thin right now. Doing nothing is not an option. We have to act. We must act consistent with both our law and our values as Americans. I'll take these steps today, not to walk away from who we are as Americans, but to make sure we preserve who we are for future generations to come. Today, I've spoken about what we need to do to secure the border. In the weeks ahead, and I mean the weeks ahead, I'll speak to how we can make our immigration system more fair and more just. Let's fix the problem and stop fighting about it. I'm doing my part. We're doing our part. Congressional Republicans should do their part. Thank you very much.
Politics with the war. What was that? I asked her, is Prime Minister Netanyahu playing politics with the war?
I don't think so. He's trying to work out a serious problem he has. Thank you.
Well, you just heard President Joe Biden announce significant actions to crack down on illegal border crossings. The actions will effectively shut the border when illegal crossings top 2,500 for 7 days in a row and can only be undone when illegal crossings drop below 1,500 for several days. The order also means people who cross into the U.S. unlawfully will not be eligible for asylum. He also took a question there about Israel, just asking whether Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is playing politics with the war. He said that he didn't think so. Joining me now live at the White House is Spectrum News Washington, D.C. reporter Daniel Grimes. In Austin, Texas, we have Spectrum News political anchor Karina Kling. And live at the border in McAllen, Texas, we have Spectrum reporter John Salazar. John, we're going to start with you. This shuts down the border unless the average daily encounter is 1,500. We looked at the numbers. The last time that happened was back in July 2020. That was the height of the pandemic. So effectively, are we talking about the border shutting down for migrants right now? And if you would, do we mean all migrants? Is that including children, John?
We're looking at, the numbers right now, according to CBP, are about 3,500 between Brownsville and San Diego, 3,500 people per day. And so if they take a look at these numbers, they will shut down that border. So that means migrants who come to the border between ports of entry trying to gain the asylum process because perhaps they don't have the means to find a lawyer, an advocate, to go through the channels, or they could be in great risk of their life. That means once they step foot on American soil, if they came in between ports of entry, they would immediately be disqualified for asylum. So it does appear, Josh, that this order could take effect immediately.
And John, if you know, and I know the order was just recently released, but are we talking about all people, children included, if they came unaccompanied?
There's going to be some humanitarian leeway given to unaccompanied minors and also those victims of human trafficking. We have a lot of chases down here on the border from coyotes who are shuttling these people from between ports of entry to try to get them into the United States. Those are people that the federal government considers victims of human trafficking. So let's say that the Texas Department of Public Safety pulls over a vehicle and there could be some migrants inside that car. Those people are considered victims of human trafficking, and they would still get a chance to go before a judge. So children and victims of human trafficking, there would be some protections, but everybody else, it does look like they're not going to qualify for asylum, so they would have to take legal means to try to get into the country.
Daniel, this executive order is effective immediately. John was saying that the border will effectively shut down by all accounts. It's very likely, though, to be put on hold because of legal challenges. Already the ACLU is suing. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right, Josh. The ACLU says it will see the Biden administration in court. Now, you may remember back in 2018 when then President Trump tried to issue a similar ban to those seeking to gain asylum at the southern border, again back in 2018. The federal courts blocked that ruling, saying the president didn't have the authority to do it, that it violated federal immigration laws. And so you may see something similar happen to the Biden administration here, but really a lot of experts are saying that's not their goal to actually see this followed through. Their goal is to say, hey, we tried something through Congress. You heard the president there pushing Congress to act, saying we tried it twice at the congressional level. They didn't act. Now we're going to try it this way, and if the courts block us, hey, we've tried all avenues to curtail the migrant crossings at the border, Josh.
Yeah, Karina, just following on that political angle, Biden really appears to be trying to show that he's tough on immigration, but only because Republicans killed that bipartisan border deal that Daniel was just talking about. And as the president was saying, he believes that that was done at Donald Trump's request. He certainly sharply criticized Trump's immigration agenda as well as cruel. In your analysis, does this move have any impact on how Americans perceive Biden?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big question moving forward. He definitely wants that to be the case as he issues this executive order. But we're hearing from, Republicans in Texas and some of the border mayors who were not invited to the White House. We saw some of them there, and he mentioned the bipartisan members of people that they had with him at the border. But they're the Republicans and some of the border mayors just say too little, too late. Where was this 2 years ago when we saw all of these numbers and all of this influx, and we were really dealing with some of these huge crises at the border? And then, we're hearing from also a fine line that Biden is walking with progressive Democrats and some of the immigration advocates who say that this is going too far and this is going in step with what we've seen from President Trump. I think, so far what we've seen with polling is that the American people side more with Trump when it comes to border security and immigration and his stance on that. And now as we move forward and Biden is able to speak about this executive order, how much it's going to help, does it change polling? We'll have to wait and see.
John, we'll turn to you at the border. Tens to hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants have been crossing every month recently. You see them in many parts of the country, including New York City, where I am. Does this order affect them, or do they remain in limbo as their cases are processed under what is a woefully understaffed system?
Well, there were some other measures that the Biden administration took to try to expedite some of those asylum claims. Right now, we know that there are millions of people waiting to go before a judge in immigration courts, a backlog of at least 3 to 4 million people. Some of those later cases that we've seen here on the border, those are going to be expedited by 6 months. And you heard the president talk about that. But primarily, this asylum ban will impact those people who show up on the border without permission, without lawful permission, without an appointment through the CBP One app or a lawyer to come inside the country.
Thank you, John. Karina, let me go back to you. You were talking about something really interesting before about the political pressures. And I wanted you to particularly talk about the blowback from Latino Democrats to their party's expected nominee. Ahead of this announcement, kind of word of this came out, well, it's been a few weeks, but more specifics over the last 24 hours or so. And particularly Latino Democrats, at least some of them, have been quite critical of Biden. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and we're expecting to hear from them. They're going to hold a presser a little bit later today, too. And I'm sure, jump at the chance to really criticize President Biden over this. And as mentioned earlier, I mean, it's just one of those issues that Biden, his party is split on this. And we've seen that on several issues, and particularly with this among Latino Democrats who have been trying and pressuring Biden to do more at the border, but do it in a way that is humane, do it in a way that continues to give due process. And we're also going to be hearing from some of these immigration advocates. And I think what we heard, as you mentioned earlier, the ACLU suing over this. So I think it's going to be something that's met with a lot of legal action, a lot of lawsuits, and how the president is able to navigate this within his own party has been tricky, and it's going to continue to be very tricky.
John, very briefly, we just have a couple seconds left, but has the border, does it look different to you, let's say, over the past 16 months or so? You've been reporting from there for a long time.
Remember, ever since Mexico and the United States got together, the border has slowed down drastically as opposed to what we saw last year. So the numbers are down, but still it does look like this asylum ban will take effect almost immediately. Josh?
Okay, well, thank you both to you three very much. Daniel Grimes at the White House, Karina Kling in Texas, and John Salazar at the border. Thank you all very much for your time. Thank you at home for watching. I'm Josh Robin. We have more news right now here on Spectrum News.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search